Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding. Mountain. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about natural bodybuilding and the mindset, generally speaking, you should have when it comes down to designing your training program or following a template. You know, kind of like the templates that I have on my website. You'll see the workout programs that I have on my website. You'll see that there's a certain amount of volume that I recommend per workout. Now, so I'm not saying that you can't go in different levels of volume. You can't, try and push the limits in different areas. And I highly encourage you to do this, right? I think there's something to be said for that once in a while, just in case you've been, let's just say, being lazy and you're not necessarily pushing the muscle as hard as it could. Sometimes you still have more gas in the tank that you can use. You by all means, then use it, right? But one mindset that I find that people lose when it comes down to some of the questions that I get, because I just had a guy ask a question about full body workouts, and he says, he's going to do 3 or 4 full body workouts a week. Should he do like 10 sets per muscle group each time? And I'm like, no, like my first answer to this is absolutely not, because it's too much volume. Because by the end of the workout, you're going to get at least 60 sets. That's assuming you're not training calves and abs. 60 sets for your workout. Now, just assuming you're taking a minute rest in between sets, we already know that's going to be just an hour of rest, which is fine with that much volume. But what I'm saying is that you are going to be in that gym for at least 2 hours, if not longer, depending on what type of exercises you're doing. Because one could argue with lower back type movements like squats or deadlifts, you do need more than 1 minute rest sometimes to make sure that that lower back is rested, to make sure it can maintain proper form, because that's first priority. First priority is making sure that your body does not get injured. That's always the first priority. Second priority is to push it to as close to the limit as you can in order to get it to adapt. But that said, when you're trying to build muscle, you're trying to build the anabolic anaerobic system, not the endurance system, such as with jogging a marathon, right? So if you start to do too many sets in a workout, what you'll start doing is just beating the muscles and the overall nervous system, but you're not necessarily getting more results because your glycogen is totally gone. It's pretty much burned out, and your body cannot replenish that glycogen fast enough in the muscle, and therefore you're just flogging a dead horse, right? It's like the muscle's just not moving. So I always say, do a certain exercise until you hit that critical drop-off point where all of a sudden you notice there's about a 30% to 40% reduction in reps all of a sudden from one set to the next, assuming you're using the same rest time. And then you've pretty much hit that muscle group hard enough with that given exercise at least. Maybe it's the same muscle group with another exercise you're going to do, but at the same time, this is a general way of knowing that you've hit your limit there, or at least that you've burned it out enough that you've caused it to flick a switch for adaptation. Mountain. So yeah, remember that this is an anaerobic exercise, and there have been some studies that showed that 45 minutes to an hour is about as long as you should be doing an all-out anaerobic type of workout, assuming you're even resting in between sets, a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes. Anaerobic activity should only be done mainly for that period of time. Now, I've done workouts for an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 30 minutes. But what I'm saying is that if you do this too much, if you do too much volume, like 25 sets, 30 sets for a workout could even be considered too much volume, depending on your frequency, you're going to notice that burnout happens and no extra muscle growth. If anything, it may be the opposite. You start to overtrain, or the muscles just say, hey, you're basically beating us long after we've already been beaten enough, right? We already got our lesson, And so you're trying to teach somebody a lesson and then you're beating them after they're dead. Like, what's the point, right? You want them to wake up to learn their lesson. So that's what you want the muscles to do. Now, some people say stimulate, don't annihilate. No, I do believe in annihilating the muscle, but one could argue that once the muscle's burned out of its energy stores, for the most part, you're no longer able to push it into annihilating anymore. It's basically contracting, but only at half mast. It's only like 50% contracting. You notice your strength gone down a lot after a certain amount of sets. So one could say that you cannot manifest the same intensity anymore. Therefore, you're not getting the stimulation, not the same type anyway. Now you're going more into the endurance. So remember, when you are training or creating your program, that it's not a bad idea to stick to, generally speaking, the 45-minute to an hour and 15-minute rule when it comes down to your training session. Now, could you do another training session later on that day? Yeah, maybe you could. Some people believe if you're intense enough in the first session, maybe you wouldn't be able to do the second session. But that said, at least you'd have time to replenish the nutrients, eat lots, maybe take a nap, and then come back to the gym, assuming you're some sort of pro athlete or something and you've got time on your hands, right? So this is really my point. Don't do too much, but be intense and try to progressively get stronger in whatever rep range you're working at. That's the most important thing. It isn't about exhausting yourself. If you're going to talk about exhausting yourself endurance-wise, now we're getting into endurance training, which is a different thing. That's not necessarily going to gain you more muscular growth. It's going to get you in shape, right? It'll get you in shape to a certain point, but that's going to be more endurance-oriented, and that's not necessarily going to get you the same muscle growth gains. So yeah, this is a general rule, a general foundation. Different people are going to have different tolerances. Yes, some people are going to be able to do more endurance work than another and tolerate it and be able to put on muscle. But generally speaking, this is the foundation on which you want to build your program. I mean, when I'm playing commando, I only do about 30 minutes of commando in between sets. This game's a real pain in the ass, just so you know. I only have so much endurance to do this. I'm an anaerobic athlete, so I can't play for too long. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Mountain. You almost thought that was slow motion, didn't you? It wasn't slow motion. See? Already dead. That set was too long. Grenade this guy. Okay. All the soldiers I'm shooting should be wearing masks, because it's like mimicking real life. The zombies. This game is so tough. I'm just having a lot of trouble with this game. I find the angles are hard. Angles are really tough. See, I can't get this guy. Angle, see? Just struggling with the angles. Now you know why I gotta do 30 minutes of workout. Come on, Castro. Well, see? Tell ya. See, I went too long. Endurance, see? Natural Gallant.